Final arguments and history lessons inside a San Francisco federal court today. At issue, California's effort to halt President Trump's order that sent military troops into Los Angeles. Much of today centered on the Posse Comitatus Act, written more than a century ago. It is a law California's Attorney General maintains the president broke. NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana was in court.
On this last day of arguments in a case that defined the limits of presidential power, Judge Charles Breyer had some very pointed questions for the attorneys representing the Trump administration. The most basic, what are the limits to activating a standing army in a United States city? In June, President Donald Trump signed an order federalizing California National Guard troops. He then sent those troops and Marines into Los Angeles to quell what he described as a rebellion. He was referring to several sizable and sometimes violent protests against ICE raids in the area. Today, Judge Breyer asked, is the rebellion over? When can the troops go home? He then asked, if the troops were sent to Los Angeles to deal with the rebellion, why were they also sent to help drug enforcement and ICE agents at pop farm raids more than 80 miles away in Carpinteria and Camarillo? Both raids were highlighted in testimony this week. And those actions appear to be key in how Judge Breyer will rule. The U.S. government contends the president has the power to activate the military to protect safety. But California's Attorney General argues the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act bars the military from conducting nearly any type of police activity on U.S. soil. At several points in today's court proceeding, Judge Charles Breyer essentially gave a history lesson on the Posse Comitatus Act. At one point, Judge Breyer told the U.S. government attorney, quote, you can't forget the history. You can't just look at words and say, well, because words mean whatever, sort of like Alice in Wonderland. Words mean whatever I want them to mean. Breyer reminded Hamilton Posse Comitatus was created because southern states no longer wanted the Army to be enforcing law after the Civil War. Retired UC Santa Cruz history professor Dana Frank was among those watching in court today.
So it is tricky because of the Southern white evocation of states' rights, and yet at the same time we are all on the side of not having militarization coming from the federal government.
The Trump administration argues the president has near total power to activate troops in the name of safety. The attorney for California argues the president violated the act by essentially bringing in troops and intertwining them with federal agents. They want Judge Breyer to end the deployment and define a limit on the president's power to use in the future. Judge Breyer says he'll issue a ruling as soon as possible, but did not give a date. In San Francisco, Sergio Quintana, NBC Bay Area News.